Wasabi guys, welcome back to another Commander video. As always, if you appreciate these, please subscribe to the channel. Today I want to talk about just how well Commander 2011 has aged. Now, it isn't officially called Commander 2011 as a product, but we all know it as Commander 2011 since every other Commander product since has been identified by the year it came out. But when you see the Commander options, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Zedruu the Greathearted, Animar Soul of Elements, Kaalia of the Vast, Karador Ghost Chieftain, and the Mimeoplasm. These are among the most played Commander options for each individual deck of that year. I want to talk about the difference between Commander 2011 as a product compared to all of the Commander products since, and I'm going to be talking about it as a set in terms of what exactly it offers the average Commander player as far as playability is concerned. Now, out of the 5 most played, the most expensive ones are Animar and Kaalia, and even then, Animar isn't super expensive anymore. Kaalia, for whatever reason, can get reprinted 5, 6, 7 times and still be above $20. These are the original print prices. Of course, any reprint's going to be cheaper than the original here, but that's still quite impressive. It means the older printings, the older sets have that premium. They're still going to retain their value, which is something that it has a much greater advantage of compared to most other Commander products since. But just looking at this chart for Kaalia of the Vast, it's a nice wave. It sees its peaks and valleys. For a while, it was creeping up closer to $40, but it didn't hold on to that very long. It dipped right around 2017, 2018, and then it slowly climbed back up in 2020. And then it dipped again, and then it went back up, and it got a reprint in another Double Master set. So Wizards, they want to reprint Kaalia because she remains one of the most expensive Commander options from a Precon product. And being an introductory Commander for a lot of people in 2011, that's not super practical. That's very difficult to justify for the average person. But that's one reason why I would say this set has aged really well. If you're looking for a straight up answer, it's kind of a mixed bag. I think it's aged wonderfully in terms of money. The print run was so much lower compared to anything since, but we will also be talking about the quality of the product later on. But right now, I want to just go over all of the decks and the average for those 5 decks. If you were to buy a set of 5, the market value is about $1,000. Now, that is a price if you were to buy a bundle of 5. It's not pricing them out individually and then adding that up. Of course, that number would be a lot higher. And as the years go on, people are going to be listing this for well above $1,000 because, again, this was an experiment back in 2011. I don't think people realize that. Wizards didn't just go into this set thinking everybody wanted to play it. So once they continued at 2013, they skipped 2012. They felt more comfortable increasing the print run. But here we are just looking at one of the most recent Commander products from last year, Commander 2021. This is a 10-year difference, by the way. If you were to buy a set of 5 of all of the different decks, you're looking at about $150 for 5 decks, which is a great deal if you're looking to just jump into Commander for the first time. I don't think that's an unreasonable amount of money to get yourself 5 out-of-the-box ready Commander decks. And I remember having some people upset with me after I said that Commander 2021 looked like one of the worst Commander products that we received, at least in terms of value, because I just didn't see anything there. And here we are over a year later, and it looks like I was justified in saying that. If we were to look at the following Commander product that came out 2 years later, again, they skipped 2012, you're not looking at the same value. Of course, the print run increased. These are still pretty easy decks to find sealed. Now, what I will mention is that the priority for the first Commander product was reprinting. You did get some really cool Commander options to help form a foundation for the format, but you also had some ridiculous reprints that we will go over later, that in Commander 2013, they just didn't add as many. In fact, the big money cards from Commander 2013 were things like True Name Nemesis. So it wasn't even a reprint, it was a card that was played in Legacy, which that became its own problem. But for all of these, you're not looking at a $200 deck, which is the floor for 2011. Looking at another product that I think is just as valuable and potentially even more valuable, Commander 2017, when they switched over to only 4 decks instead of 5, you ended up getting tremendous value out of at least 2 of these decks, Draconic Domination and Vampiric Bloodlust. The Commander options for those 2 were already some of the most expensive. Oh yeah, and you had unique cards getting printed in just this one deck, like Teferi's Protection. This is one of the only sets I think that even compares to Commander in 2011, while having a different approach entirely. Commander 2016 is another set that compares well in terms of value, although the advantage here is that you have 5 decks to choose from. Since it's hard to find sets of 5 of these, if you were to add up the market price here, it's still going to be close to $1,000. which I think this set, the reason why it did so well, everybody loves Commander 2016. It offered you value in unique cards, and you also got some pretty decent reprints, but just forming a foundation for what the format is going to be. And ever since, everybody's been playing Atraxa, Breya, some of the most commonly seen Commander options come from this set. But what really makes Commander 2011 what it is was the early staples that got reprinted, even if they're not super expensive anymore. At the time, Garruk Wildspeaker, if you saw that getting a reprint, Austere Command, Sol Ring getting a reprint, that was very appealing. Skullclamp, Lightning Greaves, Living Death, Grave Pact, and even Solemn Simulacrum at the time was a bit more expensive. Over the past 10 years since that set released, you have seen most, if not all of these, in a ton of Commander decks. And this is where I think it aged well, but it also didn't at the same time. The approach to the first Commander product felt similar to the approach that Wizards takes with their core sets, where you might get great playability out of it, but you won't get strong synergy. All of these are great cards, but not all of them had strong synergies with their commanders. This is even more noticeable when you look at some of the unique cards that got printed, such as Homeward Path, Flusterstorm, Champion's Helm, Stranglehold, and Collective Voyage. All of these, by the way, helped to bolster the value, but a lot of what was offered here was just good stuff value. Homeward Path might be cool with Zedruu, but that's about it. So what happened here as a result, if you've ever played any of these out of the box, was that you might have had a solid introduction to the format, but you didn't have something that you could carry forward and keep exactly the same. Commander decks in the past couple of years, you don't really have to upgrade that much. You don't really have to swap out maybe more than 5 to 10 cards. With these Commander decks, a lot of the time you just took the Commander, Sol Ring, Lightning Greaves, Command Tower, whatever staple was in there, and then you just made the best out of the rest if you could, but you likely swapped out most of it. And that's because while you had a lot of good stuff cards, you were much better off with higher synergy cards that actually complemented your commander. In one way that I think that this set has aged horribly, it was the inclusion of the Planar Chaos Dragons, because they were clearly included because they were another option in 3 colors. It wasn't because they synergized with the central strategy. If they did, it was just a coincidence. Wizards said, let's find a cycle. They chose these dragons and said, hey, they match the colors we're looking for. It doesn't offer that much to the player because, again, they're likely going to scrap most of their deck if they choose to go with these, or they're just going to have a mess with zero synergy. Oros was maybe the only one that worked because it was a dragon you could cheat into play with Kaalia. Do you think that Numont would be a fun commander to have to play with? Land Destruction as an introduction commander? Yeah, I don't really think so. But what really aged well, I would say, is the concept of adding a secondary commander and even a third string commander. And while you don't really technically have a primary commander, if you look at the product boxes, they are kind of fanned out into 3 options. Just having different options for the deck, I think, is what made this strong. And you've seen it ever since. It's been implemented in every commander product. You'll not just get one commander option, but you'll get at least another one to follow it up if you decide you want to change it. And this set offered some pretty strong ones like Riku of 2 Reflections, Damia Sage of Stone, and Gave Guru of Spores. What you'll notice is that there is a lot of good stuff in these decks, but the lack of synergy was very noticeable. While you could find something in common between commanders like Riku and Animar, you really have to try to find the synergy between commanders like Damia and the Mimeoplasm, Gave and Carador, Teriel's an Angel, but that's really it. Ruhana the Fomori and Zedruu don't really do that much together well, so it just felt like Wizards was focused on giving you a different commander in the same colors, which isn't too bad because, again, this was their first try. But if we're just evaluating this product in terms of what it offers to the average player, it's not going to give them everything that they need. Certainly not out of the box. Another point in its favor, I guess we're alternating between the good and the bad, the pros and the cons, is that it offered you a third string of commanders here, so these were arguably just as popular. You had ones like Edric, Spymaster of Trest, Skullbriar the Walking Grave, Nin the Pain Artist for a little bit, Bysandra Battle Seraph, very underrated commander option in Vishkal Blood Arbiter. You had a third string here, and you do have that in some more recent commander products, but this is where I really believe 2011 shines. It's a negative, it could be viewed as a negative and a very strong negative, but the variety in options. Subtract a color and you get one of these awesome, unique commander options that have an insane number of decks built around them as well. But as you can see, I mean, it's not the case with a lot of newer commanders. You see this sometimes implemented where you'll have a commander option that's completely different from any other option included in the same deck. But Kamigawa Neon Dynasty, you have Shorikai and Kotori, both vehicle-focused commanders. Askir and Alabu, both artifact-focused commanders. Strefan and Cumber the Plunderer, both blood token-focused commanders. There's just a stronger synergy there, which has its pros and cons. The big pro is that it's more playable out of the box. You don't have to really substitute anything. The con here is that you're not really able to build anything radically different from the core strategy. So if you take anything away from this video, just know that sealed commander products from 2011 are still gonna age like fine wine. I talk a lot about investing with the Magic Market Watch. This is a very good example of what I'm talking about with premiums. You look to Kalia's value, you look to see that it's quite stable, it recovers well, while you have some of these other options that aren't nearly as expensive as they used to be. The overall value of the decks haven't really suffered. The real playability, of course, is going to lie within the commanders themselves. As I said, you get a lot of good stuff cards, but there's not a strong synergy. So they've aged really well in some aspects and they've aged poorly in others. I wouldn't take any of these commander decks out of the box and put them up against anything recent, because I don't have the confidence they would play well. But for Wizards' first attempt, this has to go down as one of the best things they've ever done. Again, subscribe if you have not already. Commander Void here signing off. I will see you all next time.